Well, a recent morning consult poll of Republican primary voters shows that Donald Trump, the clear frontrunner, leading his next closest competitor, Ron DeSantis, by 17 points. And really, as you see there, blowing everybody else out of the water.
And joining us to discuss, former New York City Records Commissioner Brian Anderson, founding partner Steinhauser Strategies, Randon Steinhauser, and Project 21 member Whitley Yates.
Could we also mention there's the other poll? I don't know. Do we have the other poll that shows DeSantis is ahead?
Beating Biden.
Straight up.
Yes.
Beating Trump. And also
Biden,
beating
right.
Biden. So I just want to throw it in the mix because
we'll put it all in there.
It makes it a little more interesting.
Yes, it does. Otherwise, it's kind of a boring conversation. Not with our panel. Okay, not boring at all. Whitley Yates, is the former president unbeatable, or do you think he has met his match in Ron DeSantis?
You know, I think it's interesting that we're talking about Ron DeSantis, who hasn't even announced he's going to run, going up against a former president who has announced. I think we need to all hold our horses and see who comes out in this race to actually run for president. I don't think President Trump is unbeatable, though. But I do think that he does have some competition, but it depends on who actually wants to run for president. So I think we need to wait a little bit longer and see who comes out.
Okay, Brian, here's what strikes me. I think in Florida, we know that Ron DeSantis did well. He got reelected, by 19, 20 points. Yeah. And we know that he does well with a certain population. This may reflect, this poll, this morning consult poll, is his job isn't done here. I mean, he needs to let the rest of America know more about him because he has to prove who he is, what he stands for. Maybe they know in Florida. That doesn't mean they know in Iowa. It doesn't mean they know in Alabama and Arkansas and those kinds of places. And he also hasn't proven whether he can take a punch, including from a guy who's pretty good at throwing them.
Yes.
And calling names. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
The thing about polls is, again, it's 2 years out. And you want to know, well, who did they ask? How many people did they ask? And at this point in the game, it's almost like it's simply name recognition. And you'll find that. So I'm very suspicious about polls. They make great news. You can talk about it, right. Who's ahead, who's behind. But, again, as we've mentioned, Donald Trump is the only one that's declared for the candidacy just yet, and no one else has. And if people aren't recognizing names, they don't really know. Are they asking just Republicans? Are they asking, who are they asking? And what are the numbers? So, again, I just missed that.
Yeah. Randon, I want to get your thoughts on actually another poll, not the one that Bob was mentioning, but a slightly different topic here. This one from Quinnipiac. Americans were asked their thoughts on President Biden's handling of those classified documents. 60% said that the president did not appropriately handle the materials. 22% said he handled it just fine. 71% also insist that the file's discovery was either very serious or somewhat serious. Your take on this? Again, it's just happening. It's continuing. We've seen that drip, drip, drip that has become a bit of a cliche at this point. But we continue to learn more. Is this bad for Biden?
Absolutely. It's the drip, drip, drip that continues to show the American public that they simply cannot trust this administration or the Biden family. One thing Americans are looking for is a strong leader, whether that's going to be former President Donald Trump or Governor Ron DeSantis. The truth is that, at Young Americans for Liberty, we just hand-delivered a petition asking for constitutional carry in Florida, school choice in Florida. These are bold conservative reforms that we want to see from our leaders, and they have a real opportunity to step up and go toe-to-toe with President Biden, and I would argue certainly win the next election.
Yeah, which sounds like you're still talking about the election, which fair enough. Also wanted to get your thoughts on the documents, whether that really matters to voters. In other words, if they were to have the midterms today, knowing what we know, could the outcome have been different?
I think so. I mean, look, these classified documents keep coming out. At first, it was maybe a dozen. Then it was 20. Now we find out that Hunter Biden had access to the Corvette where the documents were hidden in the garage, right? So it just keeps coming out. I think the Democrats have also called this embarrassing from the Biden administration. So, the press secretary doesn't want to have to answer these tough questions. Americans are desperate for answers. And more than anything, they're desperate for a leader who takes the economic situation we're facing, our crisis at the border, seriously. These are all distractions from the Biden administration, and it's time for real, bold leadership for America.
Yeah, Whitley, your thoughts on the documents. How damaging are they potentially to the president's 2024 potential campaign?
Interestingly enough, I think President Biden doesn't know where he is half the time. So the fact that he forgot that he had documents just laid around in these different locations does not surprise me. What does surprise me, though, is the fact that this administration kept it from the American people for 60 plus days, and it had to be leaked by a news source for us to even find out about it. Now, mind you, this is a president who ran to restore the soul of the nation, hiding things from the American people. I think we definitely deserve answers and transparency, and we definitely need to keep Hunter's hands away from any classified documents.
All right.
Go ahead.
In sync. I love when we say that in sync. Whitley, Randon, Brian, stick around. We have a lot more to get to coming up.